Hey, good morning, everyone. It is 10:47 a.m. on January 5th, 2021, Tuesday. This is Tim Wainwright speaking. I'm going to record the quick Dev Diary video. I mean, that's a terrible name, but whatever. To show you guys what I'm up to today with Catholic Social Action. I'm going to try and do this every weekday, but don't get yelled at me if I don't because, whatever. I'm doing my best. So what you should be able to see on my screen here is the little productivity tool I use for tracking a bunch of this stuff. And you can see that it's got some tracking of all of our different goals and metrics and stuff. And the one you've heard me talk about a little bit, and the one I'm most focused right now on getting up and running are the writing targets for the websites. And you might ask, well, why do writing stuff in the Tradice podcast you did with Sean and in your presentation and the whole theme of this whole project is about moving the conversation that has just been a wheel spinning conversation for like literally 6 years at this point into the realm of action. So great. Wait, now you're selling out? You're just going to be like everyone else and do blog posts and podcasts and tweets and stuff? Great question. The answer is yes, but here's why. It's yes because in order to get anyone to do anything, you need to know them. Okay? And so we can divide it up into two categories, right? IRL, literally who is within a day's walk geographical proximity to you. That is the situation that you should be spending your most time on. Your parish, or the best thing you could do is, as long as you're sure that your diocese isn't going to close your parish, as sure as, relatively sure, you should move within walking distance of your parish. And I know there's a million excuses in everyone's situation, but that is the number one most important thing you should consider doing, is moving to somewhere that's going to be okay, projected to be okay as the climate changes over the next 100 years. You can, all sorts of stuff you can look up to test this out based on the projections. And I would recommend assuming worst case towards that end rather than best case, as in figure out what climate in your area right now is going to look like 50 years from now if we follow along the pathway of 3 to 4 degrees warming, not if we keep it under 1.5 degrees. Hopefully we do, right? But understand the spectrum, understand the lay of the community. If you live in a place right now where you don't have community, don't have a parish that you like, don't have friends, it's not walkable, the number one, and especially if it's expensive, the number one most important thing you can do is move. And it's really hard switch for people to flip, but it's a really powerful thing if you're lucky enough to be able to do it. And just to put some skin in the game, I have 2 kids and a wife, and we owned a house, but in the suburbs, and it sucked. It's not walkable whatsoever. But we moved in the middle of the pandemic because back within the city limits, the house across the street from my sister-in-law, who also has kids our same age, went on the market. In a much denser, more urbanist, more integral neighborhood, and it just so happened that the house was literally 2 blocks, a 3-minute walk from an amazing parish. So we made it work. We took a huge leap. My wife convinced me. I was initially I was like, are you crazy? But it has already been one of the best decisions we've made in our entire lives. So recommended. Your mileage may vary. So that's all local stuff, and that has very little to do with what you're hearing about right here. I mean, it has a lot to do with it, but so engaging in mass electoral politics should be seen as a hobby, basically, at this point, is my recommendation. But not as a leisure activity, something you do that's still very important, but it shouldn't be first. It shouldn't be that thing that you obsess about on the internet in order to get that frisson of energy and distraction away from the alienation of your day-to-day life. It's still really important. Like it has real world consequences, like whether people are going to die from healthcare. But you have to focus on what you can control mostly. So that being said, we're talking about a mass political and social project here, using the tools of the internet. And the only way to do that at the sort of numbers and scale that would be required to do something audacious like get 80% support among all self-declared Catholics in the US for Medicare for all, regardless of partisan affiliation. That's a really audacious goal. And the only way you're going to do that is if you speak to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. And by speak to, I mean meme. They visit your website, they see a tweet, blah, 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 blah. They have a conversation with someone who's had a conversation with you. All of this sort of this soup stuff. And the very first step to doing that is people have to be able to find you on the internet. So when I talk about blog posts, these blog posts are not going to be read. They are not going to change anyone's mind. They are going to be shit. They're going to be total shit. I mean, they're going to be worthless. You should not read a blog. You should read a book. And most of these posts are just going to be about books that you should go read. But what they do is increase the rankings of our tentacle websites within all of the search engines, which makes it more likely for people to follow you on social media, for them to share your stuff. And that is how the modern mass media propaganda machine works. And it's my view that that is pretty much the fundamental sort of matrix that determines all of the people's sort of opinions and what happens here. I'm very cynical on that front. So before I organize another march, before I organize another petition, before I sit down for the consulting on making vocations recruitment more effective in my own diocese and trying to scale that to other dioceses, we've got to have functioning websites with a streamlined workflow of people writing and updating, and tweeting, and blah, blah, blah. So we've got a base to build on. And so that is what I'm working on today. I've got a pretty quick workflow here in terms of banging out mediocre blog posts that will help us get visible within the search engines, as well as some of our higher quality data projects like the CSA advocacy map, which I'm still a huge fan of. And the other big pillar of this is spending some time today recruiting volunteers who have a passion for this, now that I've set up the workflow a little bit. And so my goal is to have this mostly self-sustaining and relatively automatic over the next 2 weeks with some volunteers and some of my own work. If I focus, I can bang out 3 short blog posts in under an hour. And then once that habit is built, the websites, that will really help the website growth, and we can move on to creating all of these processes for some of our larger fish to fry projects. Anyways, cool. That's the little dev diary, and that was really helpful in framing for me what I'm going to be doing all day, and I hope you find it interesting. So, as always, my DMs, messages, inboxes, telephone, all open. We're all volunteers. We're not making any money from doing this. We are sick and tired of everything that's going on politically within the church and within public life. And everyone's been sitting around on their asses wondering what we're going to do as the sky falls around us for a long time. And we've got to just get off of our asses and get to work. Fratelli Tutti, baby. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.